So we're going to go through some of this coordinate geometry test review. Hopefully this will help if you didn't understand some things. First one is, what's the slope of the line that passes through 2, 5, and 7, 3? You do your change in y, which is going to be 5 minus 3, or 3 minus 5, doesn't matter how you do it. But you need to make sure if it's 5 minus 3, then this would be 2 minus 7. Um, 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. And so it's going to be negative 2/5. What's the slope of this line shown? You can do your change in y, which is going to be up 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4, and to the right 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be positive 4 over 3. Next one, which equation represents the line passing through these 2 points right here? I always like slope-intercept form. These are all in slope-intercept form. The first thing you have to do is find the slope. So that's going to be your change in y, which is 7 minus 3, over your change in x, which is negative 3 minus 3. So 7 minus 3 is 4, negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. You need to make sure you simplify. It's negative 2/3. Knowing that it's negative 2/3, you can actually eliminate those as answers. It's always a really good thing to do for standardized tests. Now, you know y equals mx plus b. And so you're going to replace your slope here with your slope here. And then you're going to replace the x and y values here with x and y values from the points of your choosing. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm going to pick the 3, 3. I'll actually show with both. I'll just do it in 2 different colors. So this would be 3 is equal to negative 2/3 times 3 plus b. These 3's would divide out. 3 is equal to negative 2 plus b. Add 2, b is equal to 5. You can also do negative 3, 7. So you replace your y with replace your y with 7 is equal to negative 2/3 times negative 3 plus b. These would divide out to be negative 1. 7 is equal to 2 plus b. Subtract 2. B is equal to 5. So either way, you have your y-intercept is 5, your slope is negative 2/3, so your answer was C. Next one, what is an equation of the line that passes through negative 2, 5 and is perpendicular to this line? So if it's perpendicular, all I actually need from this line is I need the slope of, I need this to find the slope of the line that I'm looking for. The slope of this is 1/2. So, and then the slope of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 over 1. So my slope is going to be negative 2. I'm going to do the same method I did up here. You know y equals mx plus b. I'm going to replace my slope with negative 2. My x value with my x value here, which is negative 2, and my y value of my point, which is 5 plus b. 5 is equal to 4 plus b minus 4 minus 4. B is equal to 1. And so I know my slope is negative 2. My y-intercept is 1. And so the answer was B. For these two, it's asking if they're parallel, perpendicular, the same line, or neither. So what I would do with these ones is I would actually rewrite them in slope-intercept form and go from there. So for this, I want to get everything over. I want this to be y is equal to, so I'm going to subtract 1, subtract 1. I'm going to pair this with this because those are the terms that I can combine. So this is 6x plus 3. Then I divide each term by 3. So y is equal to 2x plus 1. So the slope of my first line is 2. Do the same thing here. 2y is equal to x minus 10. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Y is equal to, well, this would be 1/2 x minus 5. The slope of this is 1/2, but it's not negative 1/2. So these are actually going to be neither parallel nor perpendicular because the slopes are not opposite reciprocals. Now, a question like this on the test, you would have to explain the slopes are not the same or opposite reciprocals. So that's for that one. Number 6 here, two lines are represented by negative 1/2 y is equal to 6 plus 10, for which value of m will the lines be parallel. So basically, this is slope-intercept form. The y-intercept would be 0 here. So you're just trying to find the slope of this line. The slope of the line that I'm given, or the line that I'm given, is negative 1/2 y is equal to 6x plus 10. I want to get rid of my fraction here. So I'm actually going to multiply each side of my equation by the reciprocal, which is going to be negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 1/2 is actually just 1. This is going to be negative 12x minus 20. And so when I multiply each side by that negative 2, the slope of the line, this line right here is going to be negative 12. So the slope of the line that I'm looking for, or the slope of this line right here, also has to be negative 12. Next one, what's the distance between these 2 points? Distance is equal to, and don't write d is equal to in your answers, okay? X minus x squared, so it's going to be 7 minus 5 squared plus 3 minus negative 1 squared. Okay, this is going to be 7 minus 5 is 2. 3 minus negative 1 is 4. This is going to be 2 squared is 4, plus 4 squared is 16. So this is square root of 20. Now, most of the time on a test, I would actually ask you to write this in simplest radical form. This one doesn't ask you to do that, but if I did ask you to, what would this be? So I'm going to just do it the method I kind of went over in class the other day. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So I know the square root of 20 is 2 times 2 times 5. This right here is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So I know there's going to be a 2 on the outside. There's going to be a 5 on the inside. That's just if you had to simplify. This one right here, it doesn't say simplify, but just as an idea. Okay, so we have these endpoints. To find the midpoint, you add your x's and divide by 2, add your y's and divide by 2, because you're just finding the middle. So this is going to be 7 plus negative 3 over 2. This is going to be negative 1 plus 3 over 2. 7 plus negative 3 is 4 over 2. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2 over 2. So that's going to be 2, 1. The answer was B for that one. What's the distance between these 2 points? Again, just regular distance formula. Now these are in simplest radical form. My distance, of course, is going to be x minus x, so negative 3 minus 1 squared plus y minus y, because remember those are sides of a right triangle. This is Pythagorean theorem. My distance is going to be equal to negative 3 minus 1 squared is negative 4 squared plus 2 minus 0 squared is 2 squared. My distance is equal to, well, negative 4 squared is positive 16. Anytime you square a negative, it's going to be a positive. This is 16 plus 4 is radical 20. And the thing that you notice is none of these are radical 20. Well, if you go up here, when I simplified this one, you'll see that when I simplified in simplified form, these 2 problems are exactly the same thing. Radical 20 is the exact same thing as 2 radical 5. And actually, you can tell in the calculator, if I do square root of 20 is this decimal, and 2 times the square root of 5 is that decimal. So you guys see it there. They mean the same thing. It's just one simplified, just like 1/2 and 3/6. Okay. Line segment, the coordinate plane has endpoints 2, 4, and 4y. The midpoint of the segment is 3, 7. What is the value of y? So midpoint, it's x plus x divided by 2 is this. Of course, we know 2 plus 4 divided by 2 should be equal to 3. 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. So that's if we didn't know what the x value is. We do know, or if we didn't know what the x value was for our point or our midpoint. For the next one though, so we didn't really need to do that, I also know that y plus y divided by 2 is equal to the y value of my midpoint. So this is going to be 4 plus y divided by 2 is going to be equal to the y value of my point, which is 7. Multiply each side by 2. 4 plus y is equal to 14. Y is equal to 10. And just to make sure, 4 plus 10 is 14. 14 divided by 2 is indeed 7. M is the midpoint of AB. You're given an endpoint and a midpoint you're trying to find. Very similar to this right here. It's going to be -1 plus 3 divided by 2, or -1, good word. -1, which is the x value I do know for the endpoint, plus, well, I don't know what the x value of this point is, so it's going to be -1 plus the x value of the point I do know, or I don't know, divided by 2 is going to be equal to 3. So if I add this x value plus this x value, I'm going to get 3 because it tells me it's the midpoint. Also, my y value of my one endpoint plus the y value that I don't know divided by 2 should be equal to 3. So I can do the same thing on the other side, which is going to be 5 plus the y value of point B divided by 2 is also going to be equal to 3. And multiply each side by 2 to get rid of divided by a fraction. -1 plus x is equal to 6. Add 1, x is equal to 7. Okay, that'd be the x value. Looks like C is my answer. If I do it right, then 1 should be the y value. Multiply each side by 2. I have 5 plus y is equal to 6 because these 2's would divide out to be 1. Y is equal to 1. And so, yep, this is my answer right here. That's the midpoint. So you just have to set up an equation for that. Okay. So now to the longer answers, make sure you show your work. It says write an equation of the line shown. And it says any equation. So it doesn't matter what you're doing as far as the equation of the line goes. You are going to have to do, or you're going to always have to find a slope first. I can go from this point to this point. I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 4, and to the right 1, 2, 3. So my slope of my line is going to be -4/3. Some of you can tell that your y-intercept is 0, -4. So your equation is going to be y is equal to -4/3 x minus 4. That's one way you could write it. You could have used point slope form, so this would be for slope intercept form. Point slope form would be you do y minus a y value of a point on there, so this would be y minus -4 is equal to -4/3 would be my slope times x minus the x value of my point. And you could simplify that if you want, but that would be also acceptable. If you were doing point slope form, you could also do y minus 0, the y value of this point, is equal to -4/3 times x minus the x value of the point I'm given. So we just have two different equations because we have two different points. And so this would be point slope. And I would accept that answer if you want to do the extra work. Also, if I have the y equals -4/3 and you were really going crazy with this, you could multiply each side by 3. So this would be 3y is equal to, these 3's would divide out. You have 12 here, so this would be -4x minus 12. I'd add 4x to each side, and I would have 4x plus 3y is equal to -12, and that would be if it was in standard form. Okay, and then you could also have -4x minus 3y is equal to +12 could also be an answer. So, but most of you, I'm going to say, are going to have this answer right here. Next one. In standard form, write the equation line that passes through point P and is parallel to the line with the given equation, then graph your equation. When I asked you to graph your equation, and you have this empty coordinate plane, and there was one like this on your quiz, I would suggest you just you make your own coordinate plane. Okay. Alrighty. And so even if you aren't really familiar You can do this. So in standard form, write an equation of a line that passes through point P. So the line that we're looking for passes through that point. So if I'm not being asked to graph, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to graph that point at -2, -2. Make sure you do your coordinates right. So I know whatever my line is, it's going to go through that point right there. Okay, and so it's parallel to this equation right here. Well, this equation, this is standard form. I can't tell from standard form what my slope is. So I rewrite this. So it's going to be x plus y is equal to 3. I rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So y is equal to negative x or negative x plus 3 or negative 1x. So, and I know that the line that I'm trying to find right here is parallel to this line right here. If it's parallel to this line right here, then I know that the line that I'm looking for has a slope of -1. And what that means is, in terms of your line, my slope is -1/1, which means that I have as my starting point, here's a point on that line. To get to any other point, or to get to another point on that line, I have to go down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Or you could go, my slope could also be, I could also write it as +1/-1. So I could also go up 1, left 1. And so actually without finding the equation, the graph can be quite a bit easier. Some of you will see where your y-intercept is, but we want to be accurate. So I'm going to do this algebraically. So we know y equals mx plus b. I know that the slope of the line that I'm looking for is -1. I know that when I put -2 in for x, I get -2 for y, and that'll help me find my y-intercept. Since it's -2 is equal to 2 plus b. Subtract 2, -4 is equal to b, so that's my y-intercept. So it's going to be y is equal to -1x minus 4. That's not quite correct because that is in slope-intercept form, and it's looking for in standard form. So really easy to take from slope-intercept form to standard form. Just make sure you don't have any fractions. Clear your fractions first like we've been doing. And always have your x first. So you could have 1x plus 1y is equal to -4. You could have x plus y is equal to -4. You could have -x minus y is equal to +4. So there's quite a few answers. I'm going to say that most of you will probably have this one or this one. Okay, so here we are. Last two problems. So the next thing is use distance formula of the Pythagorean theorem to determine if the two segments from A to B and C to D are the same. They're congruent. So what you do for this is you find this distance and this distance, and if it's the same, then you can say, well, the distances are the same, so they're congruent to each other. So I'm going to find the distance from A to B, and we've gone over this. This is what I'm going to write. I'm not going to write distance is equal to. I'm going to say this right here, this A and B, this is the distance from A to B, is equal to, I subtract my x's, -10 minus -5 squared plus 4 minus 1 squared. Actually, I have to change this. This marker's dying on me. Okay, the distance from A to B is equal to -10 minus -5 is -10 plus 5, which is -5 squared plus 4 minus 1 is 3 squared. The distance from A to B is equal to 25 plus 9, which is 34. Okay, and so we leave it that way because it's not asking for simplest radical form or anything like that. Okay, the distance from C to D, we do the same thing. It's going to be -10 minus -5 squared plus -3 minus -6 squared. -10 minus -5 is -10 plus 5, so it's going to be your -5 squared. -3 minus -6 is going to be 3 squared. And you can kind of predict what's going to go on. This is going to be -5 squared is 25 plus 9. So the distance from C to D is 34. And last but not least, this is write an equation of a line that is perpendicular to this line right here and contains the point -4, -5, then it should be to say then graph both equations below. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just make a little coordinate plane here. Okay, hopefully that'll be good. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so first thing I do with this one right here, this -4, -5, is I graph this. This is going to be -4, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that this point, my line is going to go through this, or this point right here. And actually, the only thing I need when I'm graphing is I just need to know the slope, just basically direction on how to get from this point to the next point on my graph. So I know it's perpendicular to this line here. This is not particularly helpful. So what I'm going to do is going to rewrite this in slope-intercept form. So 3x minus 4y is equal to 9. I'm going to subtract 3x, -4y is equal to -3x plus 9. Divide by -4, divide by -4, divide by -4. Y is equal to positive 3/4 x minus 9/4. So I have the slope of this line now after I put it in slope-intercept form. And so what I need to do is I need to find the equation of this line right here that goes through this point using the slope, but it says it's perpendicular. So the slope of the line that I'm looking for is not going to be positive 3/4. It's going to be -4/3 because they're opposite reciprocals. So I do my y equals mx plus b. How do I know to do that? Just as right-hand equation. I always like doing slope-intercept form and then going back. I know my slope is -4/3. I know that when my x value is -4, my y value is -5. So this ends up being -5 is equal to 16/3 plus b. I multiply each side by 3. -15 is equal to, and then I distribute my 3 here, these divide out right here, so it's going to be 16 plus 3b. I subtract 16, -31 is equal to 3b. Divide by 3, divide by 3. B is equal to -31/3, which is a horrible y-intercept. I agree. Okay. Now what's interesting is I really don't need that too much because I can use the slope of my line, -4/3, to find the point. I can find the next point on my graph. So because I know that the slope of my line is -4/3, and I know that this point is on the line, all I need to do is count. So it's going to be down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, 2, 3. And so I know this point right here is on my line. I could also do the opposite. It could be +4 over -3. So I could go up 2, 3, 4, and back 1, 2, 3. So there's the equation, or there's the graph of the line that I'm looking for. And the question is, well, how do you know that you've done it right? Well, I look at this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see how it goes just a little bit past 10? My y-intercept is a little bit past 10. So if I do -31 over 3 in my calculator, sure enough, my graph does cross at -10.3 repeating or around there. Now, this is a whole other one, and don't stress about this too much. How do you graph 3x minus 4y equals 9? Because we kind of have the opposite problem. So we have this right here. And so I know the slope is 3/4, but I don't have a starting point. I don't have a point on that line. Okay. So one of the things that I would actually try is substituting values in to find another point, to find a point on that line, because -9/4, which is -2 1/4, is kind of a difficult thing to graph. If you really wanted to do that way, so this -9/4 be -2 1/4. You could graph your y-intercept, and you could use slope to find another point on the line. So you could go, my slope is 3/4, so I could go up 3. So 1, 2, 3, and to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could graph it that way, and that would be fine if you want to just kind of approximate. That's one way you could do it. The other way is to find another point on that line. And so I always like kind of substituting zeros in just to see if you know, it doesn't cross, when x is 0, it doesn't cross nicely. But what if I said, let me just try, well, okay, what if I put 0 in for y? So if my y value is 0, what would my x value be? So this would be 3x, because this is 0, is equal to 9, divide by 3, divide by 3. My x value is 3. So although I don't have my y-intercept, I know that 3, 0 is on that line, and sure enough, you can see from my graph that it does cross through 3, 0. So there are a couple ways. I do acknowledge that you guys have Desmos, so I'm not going to fuss about that too much, but you guys should be able to graph the line. So come to office hours if you have any questions, but that's about it for the review.